What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today I wanted to give props to Lefty Gunplay. He graduated Rehab. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's what I saw somebody say. He graduated Rehab. He successfully completed his rehab, right? You can see the difference in him. Like on his frame, right? He's a lot healthier, has a lot more weight on him. I'm sure he's seeing things a lot different, clearer. And he's probably easier to get through to for those that are like close to him, right? I also want to shout out Rowdy Rex. I heard he's in rehab or was in rehab, and hopefully it's just as successful for him as it was for Lefty. Fortunately for myself, I never had an addiction to any substance or drug. I did have an addiction to a certain lifestyle, and a lot of people don't know that is an addiction as well. I can say that battling a lifestyle addiction, I don't think is as hard as battling a substance or a drug or something like that. That type of addiction is different. It does something to you chemically in your brain that is different, right? But when I'm thinking about this, I'm lightweight struck with something that is the reality and something that's not spoken of. And that is drug abuse, substance abuse, addiction amongst raza. I never sold drugs. I never sold dope on the streets. It wasn't an interest to me. When I was growing up, my mom and dad sold dope. And I didn't see, like, when you see movie stars selling dope, and I mean, when you see in the movies when they're selling dope and all that, and you see certain people that do make their money, they always wind up losing everything. But with my parents, they did it more to party, and they were also getting high and drinking, partying constantly. So growing up, I didn't see selling dope as something you did to get ahead. And just me personally, I felt like in the neighborhood, the homies that were selling dope, they weren't really with the business. Their business was selling dope. They were chasing money. You know, and I just wasn't impressed by it. But anyways, then I got to the joint. And unfortunately, I sold a lot of dope in prison. It was a very important part of the life that I had chosen in there, right? The first priority is securing a position, a spot on the yard where everyone can function. And then we take advantage of that by making as much money as possible and taking care of the people who that spot was really for. And I did that. I sold a lot of dope to my own people. I sold a lot of dope to whites. I sold a little bit of weed to blacks. I had one, maybe two, but one serious customer that was a black dude. He always had cash. One. And that's the point of this video. You know, the black community, they had an epidemic in the 80s. But you never really hear of them, at least not here on the West Coast. You never really hear of them chasing those opioids, chasing that type of high. And the joint, you weren't really going to make money off of them for that. You weren't going to make money off of them for white. I know they have their issues with lean. And I guess now like pills. But it's a very unfortunate thing that the raza, our community, is and has been stricken with addiction for so long. You know, I know dudes that had never used dope before in their life, and they were out there gangbanging. They were living that criminal lifestyle, right? And then they got to prison, and they thought being a convict, being a pinto meant you had to stick a needle in your arm. I never believed in that. You know, when I interviewed Free World Robert, we did time together. He was young. When I met him, he was like, I think 19 years old. And he got involved in those type of activities. And he told the story of one time I came out, I went into their section, and him and his celly were part of the mesa. And I went over there because we needed to discuss something. And when I went over there, his celly was an older homie, already in his mid-40s, right? And as I'm standing at the door, he goes to fix, to slam Robert. And I just looked at him like damn, man, like, for real? That's a thing where people have said that I was a hypocrite because I've always been against people using that dope. And yet I sold it. That's a part of the world. It's a part of that life. I sold the shit out of it. Did I like seeing my own kind buying off me? No. Because I knew a lot of them dudes, at some point, their money was going to get funny. And then they were going to get whacked. Whether they lived or died, that's up to God. But sooner or later, these dudes, they get these habits in prison. Everybody's money will always get funny. Sooner or later. But their addiction, it gets greedier and greedier. And then they start doing things that they know they shouldn't be doing. They'll start trying to bring a youngster in the cell that they know has money and then get him hooked. And this youngster thinks, hey, fuck yeah, I'm going to party with the older homie. I trust him. Not too long down the line, this dude's money got funny. The OG probably has more game. The youngster's still trying to figure things out. The youngster gets whacked. He's in over his head. I don't know what's worse for our community. The gangbanging or the dope. I think at this point, in this era, I think it's more clear that it's the dope. To me, I don't see the gangbanging being the way it was in the past, in the 80s and 90s. Back then, it was vicious. And I remember when I got out in 93, I saw what heroin had done to my barrio. I saw how many of my homeboys, especially from the projects, were just strung the fuck out. And it's known when dudes get hooked on that drug right there, gangbanging is the furthest thing from their mind. Getting well is their priority. Staying well, boosting, chasing that dragon, that's their priority. And I remember calling a meeting with my clique in my neighborhood and making it clear, if you're already hooked, tell me right now and you get a pass. The rest of you guys, you start using that shit, you're going to be from the neighborhood. You ain't going to be from this clique. We're jumping you out. And there were 3 homies that were already hooked. So there was nothing you could do. They got a pass. And as soon as I got busted, they were like, man, fuck that rule. What a weird situation, right? There I was, 19 years old, willing to take anybody's life, wanting these dudes to think the same way, act the same way. But I'm telling them they can't use a certain dope. That lifestyle's crazy, man. Things that make sense in that world when you take a step back, it's a crazy way of thinking, a crazy way of living. I know there's a lot of people struggling with addiction right now. I hope you can find the strength to conquer it. You know, when I got into self-help in prison, I came to realize the only way, really the only way to beat an addiction, whether it's to a drug, alcohol, a substance, or a lifestyle, the only way to truly overcome that is to find something in your life that means way more to you than you do. And then you focus on that and you do better for that thing, that person. Because otherwise, if you're focusing on you, you're already consumed with your addiction. So once again, congratulations to Lefty Gunplay. Congratulations to Rowdy Racks. I hope these dudes don't relapse. And I hope when, these youngsters, they look up to rappers when they're talking about shooting and robbing and killing and all that stuff. I hope instead they'll look at these dudes like, hey, these dudes don't use. They're still cool. And I want to do that. I want to get money, but I want to be sober and clear-headed when I do it. Just some food for thought. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.
Welcome to Varrio Liquors, home of the coldest beer in the 209. Chilled to a perfect 32 degrees. From mix and go drink kits to both classic and exotic spirits, we've got something for everyone. Visit us at 1870 Countryside Drive, Turlock, California. Catch you at the Varrio.